Behind closed doors in Santa Clara, the conversation is not about just surviving the schedule. It is about getting real contender firepower back on the field. Even with Purdy and George Kittle throwing the rhythm off last year, this offense still finished top 10 in scoring. Now both of them are coming back with a chance to push the ceiling even higher. The rookie contracts are starting to change the board. Kalin Black reveals a bold internal belief, and left guard is turned into the hole nobody can pretend not to see. Drop a like and let's get into it. There is one thing people around the league love to treat like a small detail when they talk about the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan still kept this offense dangerous after losing his starting quarterback for 8 games and missing George Kittle for a major stretch of the season. That is not normal. That is structure. That is a coach finding answers when the week falls apart, when the original plan gets tossed into a drawer, and when the opposing defense thinks it can tighten the field without paying the price. Now think about the other side of that table. Shanahan sitting there with Purdy on track for the season opener, Kittle working to be ready for week 1 or soon after, Mike Evans coming in as a respected veteran target, Christian Kirk arriving to give this offense more answers in the middle of the field, and Ricky Pearsall still sitting there as a piece who can grow in a much less crowded situation. That is when this becomes more than just, Purdy is coming back. The bigger read is this: an offense that already survived while beat up can now get its order, timing, and aggression back. And to me, the strongest behind-the-scenes part is the confidence that gives back to the building. When Purdy is on the field, Shanahan does not have to live off patches. He can call the game with layers again. He can manipulate linebackers, use motion to create real advantages, speed up reads, protect the line with rhythm, and get the ball out before pressure turns into disaster. Purdy does not need to be sold as a weekly fireworks show. He needs to be the operator who puts the system on schedule and punishes the small mistake. And when he has Kittle available, the whole thing changes temperature. Because Kittle is not just a flashy catch, Kittle changes alignments. He blocks like an extra lineman. He threatens as a receiver. He drags safeties. He creates conflict for defensive coordinators. And he brings a physical energy this team can feel. An offense with Purdy, Kittle, Evans, Kirk, Pearsall, and McCaffrey forces a defense to choose where it wants to hurt. If it closes the middle, the outside opens. If it doubles Evans, Kittle works. If it over-respects Kittle, McCaffrey finds space. If it tries to blitz everything, Purdy has the quick answer. That is why I do not buy this lazy talk that San Francisco has to prove it can still attack. What has to be proven is health, continuity, and execution in January. The potential is there. The room knows it. The NFC knows it too. And maybe that is why some people would rather whisper about it. Because if Purdy and Kittle stay on the field, this offense is not just coming back whole. It is coming back with more tools than it had before. When 6 draft picks sign all at once, a lot of people glance at it and think, paperwork. But in Santa Clara, this is the beginning of something bigger. This is the moment when the board stops being just an April projection and turns into real players with contracts, numbers, possible roles, and real pressure walking into the building. Dejon Stribling, Kaelon Black, Carver Willis, Ephesians Prysock, Jaden Duggar, and Enrique Cruz are now officially tied to the 49ers for 4 years under the CBA. Since none of them were first-round picks, there is no fifth-year team option. So the read is simple. Either this group delivers value early enough for the team to control cost and role, or the conversation changes fast. Stribling is the name that comes in with the loudest buzz. Pick 33. An estimated deal worth around $13.53 million. A signing bonus around $6.3 million. And a spot in a wide receiver room that just got rebuilt. He is not walking into a stale roster. He is coming in alongside Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, and Ricky Pearsall in an offense that wants to give Purdy cleaner answers. His college background helps explain why San Francisco invested. Production at Washington State, his best year at Oklahoma State, then 55 catches, 811 yards, and 6 touchdowns at Ole Miss. That does not guarantee anything in the NFL, but it absolutely explains the interest. Black also arrives under a spotlight. 3rd round, pick 90. An estimated $6.86 million deal. And a loaded running back room with Christian McCaffrey, Jordan James, Isaac Guerendo, and Patrick Taylor. What stands out is that he was not brought in to be a training camp decoration. He finished his college career with 2,261 rushing yards, 473 receiving yards, and 22 total touchdowns. And he broke out at Indiana with 1,040 yards and 10 touchdowns in the national title season. That puts good pressure on him, the kind Shanahan loves to use to find out who can really handle football. Then comes the part that is less flashy, but maybe more important when November and December arrive. Offensive line and defensive depth. Carver Willis, coming out of Washington, could get a shot inside, especially because left guard still does not have a clear owner. Enrique Cruz, with NFL tackle size, comes in to develop behind Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz. Prysock joins a deeper secondary picture with Lenore, Renardo Green, Upton Stout, Nate Hobbs, and Jack Jones. Duggar becomes a developmental piece behind Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. And then there is the undrafted group: Khalil Dinkins, Bryson Eason, Wesley Grimes, Mikhail Kamara, Will Pauling, Jalen Stroman, and James Thompson Jr. None of them has to become a headline today. But every year, somewhere near the bottom of the roster, somebody turns silence into a roster spot. That is the point. The 49ers roster is taking shape, and now every young player has fewer excuses and a louder clock ticking. Now comes the layer that makes the Kalin Black pick more interesting, and maybe a little more uncomfortable. Because one thing is saying the player signed, arrived, and will compete. Another thing is hearing that the 49ers had Black as the second best running back in the entire 2026 class. That changes the conversation. Now we are not talking about a name pulled in the third round just to fill out the roster. We are talking about a strong, internal, convicted evaluation. The kind the front office has to stand behind when the fan base looks at the board and asks, "Did you see something the rest of the league missed?" Clay Kubiak explained the attraction. According to him, Black kept growing on the staff the more they studied the running backs, and the detail that stuck was simple. He got the most out of every run. It was not just the big play, the pretty burst, the highlight that goes viral. It was the poorly blocked run where he still found 4 or 5 yards. For a Shanahan offense, that matters a lot, because the system wants explosion, of course. But it also wants a runner who does not turn imperfect blocking into a wasted down. It wants someone who can read, hit, absorb contact, and keep the offense on schedule. And here is where I understand the pull. When a coordinator watches the tape and sees a running back create something when the structure breaks down, that lights up the room, especially when that player showed up in the college football playoff against strong defenses with NFL-level athletes all over the field. Kubiak mentioned that too. Black looked like one of the best players on the field when Indiana reached the playoff, and he was a major part of the national championship run. Those games matter to evaluators. That is not shorts and t-shirt hype. That is not empty production. That is heavy football. But as a 49ers defender, I also have to say the part that tightens the room. Taking Black at number 90 was bold. The next running back came off the board 18 picks later when Jonah Coleman went to Denver. So yes, you can argue San Francisco could have waited. But the draft is not a perfect market. If Shanahan looked at Black and saw a specific fit, maybe the fear was not, "He is going with the very next pick." Maybe it was, "That is our guy and we are not playing around with the chance of losing him." That is where the risk and the beauty of the decision live. The 49ers do not need Black to beat out McCaffrey. Nobody serious is asking for that. They need him to prove that aggressive evaluation had a foundation. They need him to be physical, useful, reliable, productive in packages, ready to protect Purdy when needed, and able to turn small creases into honest yards. Because if he becomes a real piece as a rookie, Shanahan gets another answer. If he does not, the criticism comes back fast. Third round on a running back again, without enough return. So the question for the fan base is deeper than, "Did you like the pick?" It is this: do you trust Shanahan's eye when he falls in love with an offensive fit? Because Kalin Black is not just carrying a contract now, he is carrying a Santa Clara thesis. And now we get to the detail that might not sell jerseys, but decides tight Sundays. Left guard. ESPN looked at the 49ers roster after the draft and pointed to this as the biggest remaining hole on the team. And honestly, you can fight a lot of narratives against San Francisco, but this one does not come out of nowhere. Since Spencer Burford left in free agency, there has been an open seat between Trent Williams and Jake Brendel. And an open seat on a contender's offensive line is never just an open seat. It is a target for a defensive coordinator. John Lynch waited until the 4th round to take Carver Willis at pick 127, then brought in Enrique Cruz Jr. in the 5th at pick 179. That fits the recent 49ers pattern. Do not spend premium capital on the offensive line, try to find value later, develop, adjust positions, turn a college tackle into an interior piece. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it becomes that nervous waiting game that follows the whole camp. Willis should get a chance inside. Cruz has size and experience on both sides of the line, but he feels more like a project than an immediate answer. So the problem is not a lack of names. The problem is a lack of certainty. Aaron Schatz from ESPN mentioned 4 main candidates. Connor Colby might be the likely favorite after starting 6 games as a 7th-round rookie. Robert Jones brings experience because he started a full season in Miami in 2024, but he missed all of 2025 with a broken bone in his neck after signing with Dallas. Willis and Cruz enter as possible conversions. Brett Toth is also in the competition picture. That is a lot of people for one job, but quantity is not the same thing as an answer. And this is the behind-the-scenes point that bothers me and intrigues me at the same time. The 49ers seem comfortable letting this competition breathe until training camp. Maybe they really like Colby. Maybe they see a healthy Jones as a cheap find. Maybe Willis surprises quickly. But if you are a franchise with Brock Purdy coming back from injury, George Kittle trying to return from an Achilles injury, McCaffrey as the center of the offense, and Super Bowl ambition, interior protection cannot turn into an endless experiment. There is still a veteran name sitting out there, with Joel Bitonio being mentioned as a possibility by a lot of people. But every move has a price, fit, and consequence. So I want to hear from the fan base in the comments. Would you ride with the internal competition until the end of camp, or would you make a call for a veteran guard right now? Because defending the 49ers also means demanding the right detail. The offense has weapons, it has the coach, it has the quarterback. It just cannot let one small crack become the fastest path to bringing everything down. At the end of the day, everything points to the same truth. The 49ers are not building a roster just to participate in the season. They are trying to tighten the small pieces that separate promise from a real January run. Purdy and Kittle can put the offense back near its highest point. The rookies now have contracts and expectations. Kalin Black has become an internal conviction play. And left guard is still the detail that can calm Santa Clara down or haunt it. So stay locked into the channel, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and come back for the next video, because every move now smells like a contender decision.